Wodonga Hillshire Council, this being the 16th of June 2026. Can we start by giving Eden another big round of applause? Thank you so much, Eden. Thank you for being here and thank you for leading us in the national anthem. You're very talented and we look forward to welcoming you back again to our chambers soon. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present. And as I'm accustomed to doing so, I'd also like to acknowledge our veterans and all those who have and who are currently serving our great nation. This public meeting is required to be live streamed on Council's website, and a person's image and or their voice may be broadcast. This is outlined in the Council's adopted code of meeting practice, which is available on the Council website. Attendance at this meeting is to be taken as consent by a person to their image and or their voice being live streamed. If any person attending this meeting, including members of the public, do not agree to being live streamed, you can choose to leave the meeting before the meeting starts. Council accepts no liability for any damage that may result from defamatory comments made by persons attending this meeting, and all liability will rest with the individual who made those comments. The recording will be published and made available on the Council's website for the balance of the Council's term, or 12 months, whichever is the longer period. In addition, the recording will be retained as a Council record. Members of the public are afforded the privilege of attending this meeting to witness the Council making its decisions. Individuals acting in a disorderly manner can be asked to leave the meeting. Members of the public must remain silent, must not bring flags, signs or protest material, and must not disrupt the meeting. As we get underway, can everyone please make sure that their phones are on silent? A person must not live stream or use an audio recorder, video camera, mobile phone or any other device to take a recording or to take a photograph unless you have prior authorisation of this Council. We'll now ask Nathan Brewer from Kellyville Anglican Church to come forward and he will give tonight's prayer.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Nathan and I'm one of the ministers at Kellyville Anglican Church. My privilege to be with you tonight. I want to talk briefly for a few minutes about being a part of something bigger than ourselves. So 3 weeks ago, I had the privilege of going to State of Origin. Wonderful. Well, actually, not wonderful at the start. Anyway, if you don't believe in miracles or struggle to believe in miracles, I posit to you game one of the 2026 State of Origin. That's just New South Wales winning. Forget about the comeback. Anyway, 20 minutes in, we're down 20-0. It's raining. It's awful. And the announcer says, "Come on, guys, let's cheer." And the crowd almost audibly groans, you know. It's like, what's there to cheer about? It's miserable here. And then he says, "Your state needs you. Your state needs you right now. Get behind it." And all of a sudden the crowd's like, "Okay, let's go." And so there's something about, we would never cheer being down 20-0, but when it's part of something bigger than us, serving a bigger purpose, whether it's players or fans cheering on their state, we love it. We get behind it. It inspires us. I think that captures something that Jesus said so wonderfully 2,000 years ago. In one verse, Mark 10:45, he says, "For even the Son of Man," which is a title referring to himself, "even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So here he says, hey, I'm the creator of the world. I'm the king of the universe. I'm here to serve. I'm here for other people. I exist for the benefit of others. And here, as councillors here, you make decisions for the benefit of others. And let me just say, as Aussies, we're not the easiest nation to lead. We like to hate our leaders. We love to hate our leaders. And you're asked to make decisions for the benefit of people who love to hate you. That is a really, really hard gig. And so thank you for doing what you do. Continue to serve diligently. Sorry that Australia has tall poppy syndrome, loves to cut those down who are in leadership of us. But thank you for what you do. So I'm going to pray for you tonight that every decision that you make is to serve others, to conduct it in a way that Jesus conducted his life and ministry. So let me pray. Father, I thank you so much that you love us. Thank you that your Son, who created the world, came to serve not to be served. And Lord, we pray for our local leaders here tonight as they make decisions and talk issues through and take questions and hear speakers. Lord, we pray that every decision will be made for the betterment of others. Give them great wisdom, humility, integrity as they hear all different sides of different issues and asked to make decisions and thought out responses. Lord, we pray that this meeting will be encouraging for those involved, will better the community around, and we pray that leading the Hills District, being a part of the Hills Shire Council, will be a joy for both our leaders and its citizens. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here tonight. I know it's your first time here, and we're so happy to have you. Thank you for your company at dinner and for the awesome chat. We really appreciate it, and thank you for your service to our community as well. It truly is appreciated by many. We go to item 1, confirmation of the minutes, ordinary meeting of Council, 26th of May 2026. Councillor Hazelden. Thank you. You wish to speak to your motion, Councillor
Just
Hazelden?
briefly, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
Madam Mayor, minutes typically and essentially have to be a clinical review of what was said. And it just struck me as being a little unfortunate in this particular case for the last meeting that the minutes didn't capture the gravity of the petulant behaviour of 2 of our councillors who left the meeting at short notice. Madam Mayor, this behaviour risks, which in my 11 years on council I've never seen before, this behaviour risks losing a quorum, depending on the numbers. It's an affront to those colleagues that are still in the chamber. And I think finally, Madam Mayor, that if we begun to use this as standard practice, our council meetings, which have hitherto been quite very orderly and civil, could quite easily descend into chaos. So I regret that I have to bring this point up, Madam Mayor, but I think, as I've said before, I think this is without precedent in my experience. Accordingly, I still move that the minutes be accepted. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelden. Any further speakers? Councillor Casby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I didn't realise I'd be not the only one speaking on the minutes. And as Councillor Hazelden has brought up, and as everyone knows here, Councillor Cartwright and I did leave the chamber before item 13 was debated last meeting, as we couldn't, in good conscience, debate a motion about transparency on behalf of our community behind closed doors, which we didn't deem to be confidential. So first, regarding these minutes, because I was absent, I can't endorse the minutes for item 1 tonight. Further, reading through them, I have actually some grave concerns about some procedural irregularities recorded here. I do not know what happened during that confidential session. I've asked for a copy of those specific minutes regarding the confidential session. They haven't been provided to me. I've been told that none were actually taken during that closed session. However, our Code of Meeting Practice dictates that if a notice of motion lapses, as these minutes state occurred, the minutes in front of us here, that item is dead. There is no further business to debate, and that should have been the end of the meeting. Our original notice of motion asking for a public transparency register regarding Crown Lands leases was added to the agenda with 10 days' notice by myself, Councillor Cartwright and Councillor Grevseva. The minutes state it lapsed because there was no councillor who sought to move the motion. If this is the case, I cannot see how it is legally possible that an alternative motion and resolution, which was just a generic recommitment to transparency, was even debated. I have serious questions regarding the procedure under which this new motion was moved. First, it was not an amendment. The original motion was never moved, so it could not be amended, and the minutes do not record it as one. Clause 9.1 explicitly states a council must not transact business at a meeting of the council unless notice of the business has been given. If a notice of motion has completely lapsed, as it says in the minutes, it means it is no longer an active item on the agenda or currently being considered by the chamber. because the matter is no longer already before the council, a brand new motion, such as the resolution, attempting to revive it does not qualify for the exception in clause 9.2, and introducing it on the floor does not comply with the clause 9.1 notice requirements. Third, it does not qualify as urgent. Under clause 9.3, the only lawful way to introduce a new item without notice is to pass a formal motion of urgency requiring the chairperson to rule that the matter cannot wait. A generic motion reaffirming existing frameworks would never meet the statutory definition of an urgent matter, and the minutes make no mention of urgency being declared. It is not at all clear to me how proper process was followed here. Why did council remain in a closed session for an hour and a quarter if the motion that justified closing the doors to the public had already lapsed? Passing a generalised public policy motion inside a closed chamber fails to align with clause 14.12, and the text of this new motion, as we can see, falls entirely outside the specific narrow grounds used to exclude the public. Once our notice of motion lapsed, council was no longer discussing the matter that legally justified the closure. We should not be endorsing these minutes until this has been properly explained. In fact, given the irregularities, I believe it would be entirely appropriate to engage a suitably qualified person to conduct an independent review of council's meeting practices, and this confidential meeting in particular. So I will not be voting to confirm these minutes tonight.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Uno and then Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question through to the General Manager. I believe that the minutes maybe aren't accurate on page... I don't think there's a page. Anyway, so the page in relation to item 13, it says Councillor Dr Casby retired from the meeting and Councillor Cartwright retired from the meeting. In my view, Madam Mayor, I think this is a misrepresentation. I think the term should be stormed out of the meeting. Could you just confirm, as we're through to the General Manager, why it is retired rather than the word stormed out?
Through to you, Mr. Edgar.
Madam Mayor, through you, retired at the meeting is the wording we would normally use. The minutes record the councillors left and retired from the meeting.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. I think that is misrepresenting what happened. There was no storming out.
Well,
there
part
was
of the
no
code-
misbehaviour.
Okay,
I
thank
can
you.
look it up for you, but there was calmly packing of bags and just saying we refuse to take part in a closed-door discussion that the public should be part of on their behalf. There was no storming out, and I refute that, Councillor Uno, and you know it's not true, and there were plenty of people in the gallery that can say that's not true. Unfortunately, the broadcast was conveniently switched off by that time.
Thank you. Councillor Uno.
Important that after the scene that was unfortunately displayed by two councillors in this chamber, that it's important to state that there weren't any other councillors that actually moved that motion that was stated in the competitive section of the business paper. But what was moved, I think it's important to state, that was adopted unanimously by all remaining councillors, that the motion was moved by Councillor Blue and seconded by Councillor Cox, that Council reaffirmed its commitment to transparency and open government and support the existing legislative and administrative framework that give effect to those principles, including the Crown Land Management Act of 2016, Government Information Public Access Act of 2009 and Local Government Act of 1993 to provide for consistent, efficient, fair and transparent management of Crown lands for the residents of the Hill Shire Council. Madam Mayor, this motion was put and was carried unanimously by all councillors that remained in the chamber from all parties that remained in the chamber. I think it's important to know that the vast majority of councillors do have confidence in this council that we operate in a transparent and open fashion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would agree with Councillor Uno, perhaps not stormed off, maybe threw a tantrum like a petulant child, something like that. And I would, again, before some point of order is thrown up, remind Councillor Casby that just as we saw with the point of order being abused, to argue with Councillor Uno, not to raise a point of order, not to cite part of the Code of Meeting Practice, when you go to leave a meeting, you just leave. You don't get to turn on your microphone and go on a rant about why you're leaving. But that's what happened from both people that left the meeting. That's the part that's disordered, and I would call it a tantrum. Because we'd had a debate on transparency. You put forward your position. A lot of us were very concerned that you were talking about things that were on pink paper and going to be talked about in confidence.
Point of order, there was no debate on transparency.
There was a debate on transparency.
On
You may not-
confidentiality.
We were talking about transparency. Thank you, Councillor Casby. That's not a valid point of order, and once again, you failed to cite the code
Thank you,
and just
Councillor
started debating in someone else's time.
Just correcting.
This is abusing the process, which is essentially what you guys did by leaving. If you'd stayed in the room, you could have made objections to all the things you've talked about here and speculated on what might have happened in the confidential session. But, you know, there is no minutes, there's nothing for someone to review. That's the nature of the confidential session. And if you're that worried about what your colleagues are going to do in the confidential session, perhaps you and your other party shouldn't leave the room and not be part of it. Because the point made to you about transparency was pretty valid in my view. I pointed out that if we're talking about taking things from into an increased level of transparency, we may be discussing things that are currently confidential, and that obviously is something that should be discussed in a confidential session until such time as we've decided that they should be more visible. If that is the case, we weren't able to go into the specifics because we weren't in the confidential session. But it's by your choice you weren't in the meeting. It's by Councillor Cartwright's choice she wasn't in the meeting, and all the issues within the code that you have with the motion that was put could have been raised then and maybe debated then. I find it really concerning that there's an implication that staff have gone along with some sort of illegal motion or something based on your speculation on what happened and not on any knowledge of what happened. It's inappropriate. Anyway, I think these minutes are perfectly fine. I'll be supporting them, and I was quite happy to second the motion in confidential session because I don't think there's any transparency issue in this council. The sooner that we can move on from this, the better. Anyway.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, your question?
Thank you. Through you to the General Manager. Could you point to the part in the code that allows a new motion to be put once a notice of motion has lapsed?
Madam Mayor, it's a matter for the council. It was a matter in closed session. The council resolved to go into closed session. There was one, I think, signatory to the motion. The motion was not put. An amendment was made, and that's what's reflected in the minutes.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A question through you to the General Manager. Councillor Casby has raised some concerns about not following the Code of Meeting Practice. Do you think there's any validity to any of those claims? And it's mainly to inform councillors on the decision around supporting the minutes or not.
Not that I would have at my disposal at the moment.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No further speakers? Councillor Hazelden, your right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, we've just spent 20 minutes or at least 15 minutes, which really just reinforces the point that I made earlier, that this sort of behaviour gives rise to doubt, and to people just wasting the community and council's time. Madam Mayor, and the word transparency is never far from the lips of Councillor Casby. My apologies. And tonight we will hear the word transparency and the topic of transparency discussed as much as we always discuss it in this chamber. It's a core value of this council, as it should be. It's something that is upheld strenuously by the council officers and by the entire council. So, Madam Mayor, I'll say no more. I just move the minutes be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got a motion moved by Councillor Hazelden, seconded by Councillor Jetty, that those minutes be accepted. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, it's carried. Thank you,
Could I have a
councillors.
division, please?
Need two standing for a division. Okay. Thank you. Councillor, you can vote on your keypads. I've never seen this before.
All votes are in, Madam Mayor.
All votes are in. That motion is carried, but I'll read the names out for the tape recording of tonight's proceedings when it comes up on the screen.
Try again, councillors.
We're going to vote again.
Votes are in, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That motion is carried. Thank you. Voting for the motion is Councillor Blue, Councillor Bonham, Councillor Cox, Councillor Damasi, Councillor Hazelden, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Jetty, Councillor Uno and myself, Mayor Dr Byrne. Voting against that motion is Councillor Casby, and abstaining from voting on the motion is Councillor Grazeva. That motion is carried. Yes. Councillor Uno.
I'll stand so it's polite. It's highly unusual where I've seen abstain on minutes. Could you just enlighten me, a question through to the General Manager, does abstain mean that you're voting for it, voting against it?
It's taken in a negative.
Okay, thank you.
You're voting against. Yep. Thank you. Councillors, any apologies and leaves of absence this evening? Councillor Jetty. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Damasi. Is there any debate? No debate. So I'll put all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against, that's carried. Thank you. So apologies are accepted for Councillor Cartwright and Councillor Raj, and a leave of absence has now been granted. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest this evening? No declarations. We move to mayoral minutes. Mayoral minute number 14/2026, Valet Mike Blair, OAM. It is with deep sadness that I acknowledge the passing of a truly remarkable member of our community, former councillor and deputy mayor, Mr. Michael Blair, OAM. Mike's life was one of extraordinary resilience, generosity and kindness. Arriving in Australia from the United Kingdom as a child migrant at just 7 years of age, he grew up in orphanages in Newcastle and Westmead before leaving at 15 to begin his working life. From these difficult beginnings, Mike forged a life defined not by adversity, but by a deep commitment to improving the world around him. Mike served the Hills community with distinction as a councillor for 9 years, from 95, including as deputy mayor from 2001 to 2004. During his time on council, he was known for his practical, hands-on approach and his unwavering focus on delivering outcomes that benefited the community. His contribution extended across numerous committees and continued well beyond his formal tenure on council. He was heavily involved in council's audit committee from 2010 to 2022, served as the chairman of the Hills Community Care 355 Management Committee for more than 8 years, and supported many other important local initiatives, including the Orange Blossom Festival and the Local Business Awards. Mike also made a significant contribution to youth development through life education, serving on the executive of the Hills Parramatta Life Education Movement and supporting the Youth of the Year Awards. He worked tirelessly to improve opportunities for people with disabilities and was the driving force behind establishing support units at Jasper Road Public School and Crestwood High School. He also served as president of the Jasper Road Public School P&C and was the inaugural president of the Crestwood High School P&C and a community member of the Metropolitan Disability Integration Consultative Committee. Outside of his family, one of Mike's greatest passions was the Rotary Club of Castle Hill, where he was a member for more than 30 years and served twice as president, first in 2005 to 2006 and again in 2014 to 2015. He also served numerous terms as Director of Community Service Projects and Director of Service Projects. Through Rotary, Mike served as Chairman of the Organising Committee for Tour de Hills and the Cross Country Challenge, now known as Run for the Hills. He supported victim survivors of domestic violence through the Sanctuary and the Lisa Harnham Foundation and helped hearing impaired children develop speech through his work with Hear the Children. He was also instrumental in establishing the Men's Shed. Mike's service also extended into supporting organisations. He served as past president of the Galston Amateur Swimming Club for 3 years, past president of the Castlereagh District Amateur Swimming Association for 2 years, and was a member of the New South Wales Amateur Swimming Association Metropolitan Committee for 2 years. He was also patron of the East Coast Eagles AFL Football Club and a qualified New South Wales Amateur Swimming Association referee. In recognition of his lifelong service, Mike was named Senior Citizen of the Year in 2014 and was later awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia, an honour that reflected the lasting impact of his work. In 2024, he was also presented with the Local Achievement Award at the New South Wales Senior Festival in recognition of his Rotary service over many decades. In 2014, in response to receiving an OAM, Mike told the Hillshire Times, "I'm over the moon. I never looked for what I would get out of volunteering. I was floored when I got the letter. It should have gone to my family and the people I help." And that was Mike to a T, never looking for accolades or recognition. He just got on with getting the job done. Over the years, I heard him often say that any recognition he received belonged to his wife Sue and his daughters Nicole, Michelle and Natalie. He was most proud of his family, and when he was not speaking about Rotary, he was speaking about them with pride and delight. Today we also acknowledge and thank Mike's family for their unwavering support, for the vital role they played in enabling Mike to give so much to others and for sharing him with us. Mike gave so much of himself to our community, never seeking recognition or asking for anything in return, yet the Hills is a better place because of him. He remained active in his beloved Rotary Club right up until the end, and I know Australia Day at Heritage Park will not be the same without Mike as Masters of Ceremonies. For many of us, Mike was more than someone we knew. He was a friend, a mentor, and a constant presence in our community. Someone you could call when a job needed doing, when you wanted to test an idea, when a fundraising and community event needed to come together, or when you simply needed a friendly voice and a good laugh. I will miss his wicked sense of humour, his cheeky smile, the sparkle in his eyes, and his endless attempts to recruit everyone to Rotary. I have no doubt he is now busy forming a new Rotary Club, welcoming new members and organising a fundraising barbecue or two. Mike Blair's passing is a profound loss to our community. However, his legacy lives on in the countless lives he touched, the opportunities he created, and the stronger community he helped to build. Mike set out to make the world a better place, and he undoubtedly achieved that, and so much more, through a life of courage, determination, and service to others. Mike is survived by his wife Sue, to whom he was married for 60 years and who he'd shared 65 years with in total, his daughters Nicole, Michelle and Natalie, and their 7 grandchildren. On behalf of the Council and the entire Hills community, I extend our deepest condolences to Mike's family and friends during this difficult time. Accordingly, I move that 1, this Merrill Minute be received, and 2, a minute's silence be observed. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This one's a tough one. Mike is a wonderful man. Mike served on this council, not only as a councillor but also as deputy mayor, and also on the number of committees that we have here on council. And that's council. Then outside of council, he 30 years in Rotary, and all the other community events that he's been involved in. So he's done so much for this community, Madam Mayor. It is such a loss knowing a great man like Mike is no longer going to be around. Madam Mayor, in Rotary, they've got the motto of service above self. That describes Mike Blair to a T. Mike Blair OAM. And it's great and fitting that he received that Order of Australia medal as well for everything that he did. And as you said in the Merrill Minute, I wouldn't put him past him to say that him saying that he didn't deserve it, his family deserved it, and those he helped deserved it. So that's the type of person he is. He's selfless. He cared about everyone except himself. Madam Mayor, as you said, he was a long-time Master of Ceremonies at Heritage Park, and I'm going to miss seeing him there. And even this year, as ill as he was, he turned up on Australia Day, and he still was the Master of Ceremonies. And that was his last hurrah here in the Hills. And it will never ever be the same going to a Castle Hill Rotary event on Australia Day without seeing Mike there. Madam Mayor, I'm at a loss, and it's I'm going to miss regular chats with Mike, and I used to catch up with Mike. If you knew Mike, he used to have coffee at the Little Rock Cafe at Baulkham Hills, and he was always there, and it was always great to stop and have a chat with him, and just get some advice from him, and even have a good laugh. But that was the type of person he was. He'd start his day there, he'd have his paper, and he'd know exactly what was going on in the world, and he'd be telling us. Before he passed, Madam Mayor, I know you actually rang and spoke to him, and he would have really loved you making that phone call, and I think that's really great of you doing that. I sent him a message, behalf of myself and my wife, and to let him know that how much we appreciate him. His daughter, Nicole, read that message to him. She sent me a message back and said that the message I sent put a smile on his face. Now, that's going to live with me forever, knowing that I did something to put a smile on his face before his passing. Madam Mayor, Mike's kindness, friendship and generosity touched countless lives. He had a remarkable ability to bring people together. His legacy is not measured by titles or positions, but by the people he helped and inspired. He leaves behind a lasting legacy of service, friendship, integrity and community spirits. Our heartfelt condolences to his wife Sue, of 60 years married, his daughters Nicole, Michelle, Natalie, and the grandchildren. And as you said, I thank them for sharing Mike with us, because that's what he did. He sacrificed his family to help everyone else. So, and I thank them. Just in closing, Madam Mayor, thank you, Mike, for your friendship, your wisdom, your service and example. Your contribution to the Hills and will not be forgotten. May you rest in peace, and may your memory continue to inspire all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Any further speakers? No further speakers. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those against? It's carried. Thank you, councillors. If you could please stand for a minute's silence in memory of Mike Blair. Thank you. Please be seated. We move to Mayoral Minute number 15/2026, Valet Terry Blanche. It is with deep sadness that I acknowledge the passing of Terence Blanche, a highly respected member of our community and a devoted volunteer for more than 45 years. Terry was one of the original volunteers at the Bidjagong Community Nursery. Over many years, he contributed to the propagation of 60,000 native plants that have enhanced residential areas, parks and community facilities across our region. He also played a vital role in mentoring new volunteers, helping to ensure the continuation of this valuable work. In addition, Terry served as a guide at the Powerhouse Museum in Castle Hill, reflecting his long-standing commitment to community education and engagement. He often spoke of volunteering as one of the most rewarding aspects of his life. Beyond his service to council, Terry was a long-standing and highly regarded member of the Dalmatian Club of New South Wales for more than 60 years. He served as president on 3 occasions, was editor of News Spots, and held the distinction of being the club's first historian. Terry's contribution to our community was both significant and enduring. On behalf of the Council, I extend our heartfelt condolences to his family, friends, and all those who had the privilege of knowing him. Accordingly, I move that this Merrill Minute be received and a minute's silence be observed. Councillor Massey.
Madam Mayor, it's fitting that, again, that you honour another great resident of our Shire who has passed. And although I never got to know Terry Blanche well, I think it's fitting that we honour another unsung hero of our Shire who's gone above and beyond for our community. It's sad that that we lost another great volunteer, and we've got a huge volunteer network here in the Shire, and I know he would have been a leader in inspiring other volunteers in the work that he did for this council. Madam Mayor, may he rest in peace, and again, I thank you for your merriment.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No further speakers. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those against? It's carried. Thank you. If you could all be upstanding in memory of Terry. Thank you. Please be seated. And now we move on to something a bit more happier. Merrill Minute number 16/2026, King's Birthday Honours. Councillors, several outstanding residents from the Hills have been honoured in this year's King's Birthday Honours list, and I would like to recognise their achievements. These honours reflect years of dedication, service and leadership, acknowledging the significant and lasting contributions recipients have made to their communities, their professions and across Australia. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge the 5 exceptional members of our local community who've been recognised in this year's honours list. Professor Alexander Beach of Baulkham Hills for significant service to power systems engineering and electrotechnical standards reflecting decades of national and international leadership in the engineering profession. Dr. Kathy Dempsey of West Pennant Hills has been recognised for her exceptional service to infection prevention and control, patient safety and clinical governance. An awarded healthcare professional, she is widely recognised for her work in health innovation and her leadership in infection prevention and control. Mr. Robert Dunn of Kenthurst for his considerable service to international development, the not-for-profit sector and the community, including long-standing leadership and governance roles supporting humanitarian and charitable organisations, both in Australia and overseas. Medal of the Order of Australian OAM recipients, Mr. Robin George Cummins of Castle Hill for service to veterans and to the community, recognising a lifetime of dedication through the RSL and extensive volunteer service. Mrs. Fiona Lee Hennis of Kellyville for service to the Hills District community, particularly through long-term volunteer leadership in youth sport through the Hills District Little Athletics and cancer support initiatives such as the Hills Relay for Life. The contributions of Professor Beach, Dr. Dempsey, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Cummins and Mrs. Hennis reflect the dedication, generosity and strong community spirit that define the Hills. On behalf of Council and our community, I extend my sincere congratulations to all recipients and thank them for their enduring contributions to the lives of others. Accordingly, I move that this Merrill Minute be received. Councillor Damasi.
Again, thank you, Madam Mayor, and it's glad that we're honouring these people who received the 2026 King's Birthday Honours List. In previous years, one of those recipients was actually in this room and was never acknowledged, but I would like to acknowledge Councillor Jacob Jackson for his PSN he received in 2024. year, right? Okay, so, and he was also on the King's, Queen's Honours list back then. But, Madam Mayor, to Professor Alexander Bave from Baulkham Hills, Robert Dunn, and who else have I missed there? To receive an AM is something really outstanding. So that's the Australian Medal. So that's a very high distinction. And for Professor Bath, Robert Dunn and Dr. I've lost my page. Dr. Kathy Dempsey, my apologies to her, from West Penn Hills. I think that's absolutely outstanding. To the Order of Australian recipients, Robin Cummins and Fiona Hennis, congratulations as well. The one who I really do know there is Fiona Hennis, and I know her personally, and I actually know what she does, and it's just an example that we've got these great people who live in our shire, who've gone above and beyond, and they're quite achievers. And to receive these awards, somebody nominates them for the effort that they bring to our community. For Fiona in particular, heartfelt congratulations to her, but she received not one but several nominations. Fiona's done so much for the community, not just in sporting fields, but also for the Hills Relay for Life. Like this year is the 25th anniversary of the Hills Relay for Life. A few weeks back we were on that field, and she was busy running around organising that to try and raise as much money as possible. Like the Hills Relay for Life has raised in the past 25 years over $6 million, and so far this year $333,000 has been raised for cancer research. And Robin is not only doing that, but she's also got a fundraiser happening on this weekend with the gala for Relay for Life, and I know a few of us here are going to that as well. But what many people don't realise as well is that Robin's also a victim of cancer, so she's been battling that, and she's seeing the other side of it now. So, but again, with everything which has happened to her, she's still there fighting to raise as much money for cancer research, to not for herself but for others in our community. So again, congratulations to all the recipients, the Australian Medal recipients, and also the Order of Australian Medal recipients as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Any further speakers? Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Massey, for the acknowledgement earlier. I have had the privilege of being involved in this process in the past, as already outlined, and one thing that struck me quite significantly was through the process the comments made about each individual person's contribution, but the importance of recognising great Australians within the community. And I just wanted to read out the speech from the Governor, or part of the speech from the Governor-General this year. It says, "Our honours system recognises outstanding people who contribute so much to Australia. In our communities, in workplaces across the country, recipients have made an exceptional contribution to Australia. Just like those honoured across the past 50 years, their service and achievement in the community and public service, industry and academia, science, the arts and sport help shape our nation. The work of our award recipients and the contributions of the thousands of Australians who have been recognised throughout the history of our honours system is something we can take great pride in celebrating." I absolutely think that we should take great pride in celebrating every person that contributes to our community. These are a small number of them, but despite that small number have made such significant contributions that they're being recognised through this process. And Madam Mayor, I believe that we have so many in our community that aren't nominated, that do wonderful things. I was reflecting while you were reading this out on the comments made earlier through our prayer of Australia having a challenge with tall poppy syndrome. And I think despite the sense of that in our community of bringing down people that seem to rise above the rest, I think from what I can see on those within our community and those throughout the honours system now and since it existed, I think we do punch above our weight across the world in what we've been able to achieve, deliver for our community, and especially the volunteering spirit that has existed for so long since Australia was formed. So I stand as well to support your mayoral minute and recognise the contributions of Professor Bleach, Dr Dempsey, Mr Dunn, Mr Cummins and Mrs Hennis, who, as you've outlined here, their contributions reflect the dedication, generosity and strong community spirit that define us in the Hills. And I think we always take the opportunity to recognise those that have done great work as well as our volunteers, as I do tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Any further speakers? No further speakers. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those against, it's carried. Thank you, councillors. We go to the final mayoral minute for tonight, mayoral minute number 17/2026. Infrastructure delays are failing our community. Councillors, the Minns government's recent announcement of $190 million to widen Windsor Road, combined with the Albanese government's early pledge of $220 million, is a welcome relief. We thank the federal and New South Wales government for giving this project clarity. It's a good start, but given they decide our population growth, it is just a start, and one that needs to be followed up with further funds and works. We are coming from a long way behind. It's time to support our growth. To truly equip this road to cope with the burgeoning population, we say it is still not enough. These commitments fall well short of what is needed to properly address congestion on North West Sydney's most critical transport corridor. Old Windsor Road runs right through the middle of the northwest growth area and the two councils with the biggest housing targets in the state. The Minns government expects an additional 45,000 homes will be built within the Hills and Blacktown LGAs by 2029. What our community needs now is for the rubber to hit the road with urgent delivery of meaningful upgrades. Between us, we have a combined population that rivals Canberra, so it's definitely time for action. While any investment is welcome, a 500-metre upgrade between Mile End Road and Commercial Road does not come close to addressing the scale of the problem. The future Rouse Hill Hospital will generate an enormous amount of traffic. If anything, these works are about ensuring this stretch of Windsor Road doesn't grind to a complete halt due to the hospital. The hospital is needed, but the roads past it won't cope. Traffic conditions on Windsor Road are getting worse almost weekly, not better. Travel times along Old Windsor Road have increased again this year, with average speeds now down to around 22 kilometres per hour. This is a 10% reduction in 12 months. That is simply unacceptable for the thousands of people who rely on this road every single day. At the same time, the Hills is experiencing unprecedented population growth. Thousands of new homes are being approved and delivered, yet the infrastructure to support this growth is clearly not keeping pace. Housing is a federal priority, not just a state issue. What we're seeing along Windsor and Old Windsor roads is a result of decades of high migration with inadequate infrastructure investment. This cannot continue. We cannot keep approving housing without delivering the roads, transport and community infrastructure needed to support it. When infrastructure lags, it is our residents who pay the price through longer commute times, increased congestion and reduced quality of life. The failure of the state roads, the deferral of orbital motorways is leading to ordinary low-order streets becoming congested, dangerous rat runs. This is population growth without a plan. This is exactly why councils across New South Wales, led by mayors from all political persuasions, have come together to put forward the Unlocking Homes proposal. It sends a clear and united message: the current system is not working. Right now, infrastructure is being delivered too late and communities are being left to deal with the consequences. The solution is straightforward. Governments must fund infrastructure up front, not years after homes are built. The pace of population growth is too fast for the traditional lag infrastructure in rollout of the past. That means committing to practical measures like the Local Government New South Wales proposed new system for funding essential infrastructure. This includes a $5 billion interest-free loan facility for councils, $3 billion in forward funding for straight infrastructure in growth areas, and providing broader flexibility for developer contributions to deliver the full range of community infrastructure that residents need. What is needed now is action, not more announcements. The people are here, they are trying to live, work and play. The Windsor Road upgrade must be expanded from McGraths Hill to North Parramatta and delivered urgently, and the broader infrastructure challenges across the northwest must be properly funded and addressed. This is particularly critical in Box Hill, where Council continues to face a significant infrastructure backlog caused primarily by the state government policy demands, not the Council's. We are calling on the state and federal governments to provide the $207 million in additional funding on top of the contributions plan number 15 to close this gap. Without this funding, essential infrastructure cannot be delivered. With it, Council will be able to provide the facilities our growing community needs, including roads, sporting fields and local parks. This is not optional infrastructure. It is critical to supporting a growing population and maintaining livability. The Hills is doing the heavy lifting when it comes to delivering housing. It is time the state and federal governments stepped up to match that effort with immediate infrastructure investment our community expects and deserves. Our residents should not have to wait. Accordingly, I move that this mayoral minute be received. To the Mayor write to the New South Wales Minister for Roads, Jenny Aitchison MP, requesting investigations commence immediately for a full upgrade of Windsor Road from Windsor to North Parramatta. 3, the Mayor write to the Federal Minister for Infrastructure, Catherine King MP, requesting federal funding be allocated for a full upgrade of Windsor Road from Windsor to North Parramatta. And 4, Council call on the New South Wales and federal governments to endorse the local government New South Wales proposed new system for funding infrastructure. Councillor Blue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in regard to this, would you consider adding a point 5 that we write to the local, state and federal MPs as well?
Happy to include
Just
that.
so, all right, thank you. Madam Mayor, this is a fantastic mayoral minute that does a great job in highlighting just the infrastructure backlog and concerns we have in our northwest growth area. What I would say here, Madam Mayor, is that whilst a recent announcement for what is a combined $410 million for the widening of Windsor Road, I appreciate there's some intersection upgrades along with that, but I fail to see that that's going to cost $410 million. But more to the point, Madam Mayor, what I've seen here, that given this is a 500-metre stretch which conveniently runs past the new Rouse Hill Hospital, I would have suggested that this work was going to be required regardless of the infrastructure, the population growth. This was work that was going to be required to service the hospital. So don't be fooled, councillors, don't be fooled. This is a great announcement, but this isn't just being put in place to resolve the traffic concerns that we already experience. This is here to service the hospital. There's going to bring more traffic. So whilst this is a fantastic announcement, this isn't going to go far enough, as your mayoral minute clearly states. We need to keep the pressure on both levels of government for further infrastructure here in the Hills. We aren't the ones deciding the housing targets. We aren't the ones doing spot rezoning. We aren't the ones providing housing schemes such as the transport-orientated development or HDA proposals. We're the ones that are left to deal with the infrastructure backlog at the end. And it just goes to show the continual concern that this council raises time and time again over the Box Hill contribution plan. We're not getting any closer to that, to a resolution on that, despite us talking to every possible level of government we can. But it's not going to resolve itself without us continuing to talk about that issue. So, councillors, I think this is a fantastic mayoral minute. It just goes to show that we are again leading from the front foot, and I congratulate you, Madam Mayor, on your recent media coverage in regard to the LGNSW's proposal for funding infrastructure. I think that's a fantastic move forward, and it's great to see mayors from across Sydney, from all political persuasions, getting behind what is a common issue for many councils in this state, is that the lack of infrastructure funding up front and then at the tail end. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Hazelden.
an email from a young woman who attends Our Lady of Mercy College. Her name is Ashley. She was doing a project as a Year 11 student, choosing to explore how the increasing housing density in the Hillshire has affected access to services to residents. And she notes, with the online questionnaire, I found that the biggest issue has been traffic congestion. I know that this issue is getting increasingly worse due to the rising population in the area and the lack of state government funding. Additionally, I found that the transport sector has been most impacted, with 47.1% of respondents to my questionnaire stating this. So, Madam Mayor, as I said, this is just simply coincidence, but I commend this young woman, a Year 11 student, for taking the time to explore her local neighbourhood, to ask questions, to submit a questionnaire, and then send the report from her findings back to us, all of which, of course, explicitly support your Mayoral Minute. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelden. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also welcome your Mayoral Minute, and I know that every resident, particularly every road user along Windsor and Old Windsor Road, would be supporting this 100% as well. Madam Mayor, even though that upgrade was announced, it is welcome. And as Councillor Blue said, it was always going to happen anyway because it's in front of the hospital. Then there's going to be a lot of traffic around that hospital. But there's also going to be a lot of traffic further down the road where that Todd's precinct is, and where the HDA is going to be has approved a large building to be built within that Todd's precinct as well. So there'll be more and more residents. So 45,000 residents is unheard of. That we're going to be increasing by. It's not just the Hillshire; it's also the Blacktown Shire as well, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, every morning I turn the radio on and I hear traffic reports, and the traffic reports always talks about the congestion along Windsor Road, Old Windsor Road. Without doubt, every morning just turn on the radio. First thing in the morning, you'll hear about that congestion. And Madam Mayor, when this was announced, the federal member for Greenway and the state member for Riverstone were quick to jump on the foot to put posts up on social media to say how wonderful it is that the federal government and the state government are delivering this new 500 metres of roadway. Madam Mayor, if you'd looked at the comments from those posts on social media, they got slammed. They got slammed by every resident, not only from this shire, but also around over at Blacktown, to saying it's not good enough. It's not good enough because the whole of Windsor Road and Old Windsor Road needs to be upgraded, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, earlier last year we had, it's just about a year ago now, Madam Mayor, we had we collected 20,000 signatures for fighting for Ferrier Hills' future, and looked at the shortfalls, and the shortfalls was our roadways, and also that funding that which was promised but never delivered for the residents of Box Hill, where that much needed infrastructure was required. Madam Mayor, our residents are not interested in our political blame games. They accept all levels of government to work together, and it's sad to see that every time we get one of these brochures put into our letterbox, and this is the latest one from Transport New South Wales, it gets into our letterbox here in the hills, and it talks about everything Transport New South Wales is doing for the Blacktown area. They seem to forget that the Hills Shire actually exists. I hate to know what money is being spent on these brochures. This is no different than the ALP campaign for us to save fuel by telling us to take roof racks off our cars. So this is absolutely ridiculous. This money could be better spent on building our roadways instead of sending out propaganda to our residents. Madam Mayor, in closing, the people of the Hills deserve infrastructure delivered ahead of growth, not years after congestion has been reached at a critical level. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Any further speakers? Councillor Eno.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise in support of your Mayoral Minutes. 500 metres, Madam Mayor. $410 million. That's just a cool $820,000 per metre, Madam Mayor. We can see why people are fed up with this federal government. We can see why people are fed up with this state government, Madam Mayor. When they can talk, they're all here for the headline, Madam Mayor. They are here for the sod turning with the gold-plated shovels, but then they are nowhere to be seen, Madam Mayor. Not when we've got residents of Box Hill, Gables, Tullawong, Madam Mayor, crawling along Windsor Road at 22 kilometres an hour. Important to state, Madam Mayor, that the distance between these two roads, Mile End Road and Commercial Road, Madam Mayor, 500 metres. I looked up what the world record is, Madam Mayor, for a runner. They can run it at 33 kilometres per hour. So a runner can run this distance faster than what cars can drive, Madam Mayor. Isn't that an outrageous statistic? Unfortunately, Madam Mayor, we've got a federal and state government that's very quick to throw residents and dwellings in our shire, Madam Mayor. We've seen your various mayoral minutes around the state government's Housing Delivery Authority that is proposing 40-storey towers in Norwest, Madam Mayor. They're proposing in Showground apartment blocks that have been approved for 300 dwellings, now endorsed for 1,200. We've seen down in Norwest, Madam Mayor, where we've seen developments that have been proposed for 80 apartments and now close to 800, Madam Mayor. This is a government that's all about lip service. They're very easy to throw a few dollars here and there for 500 metres of road, but they're not solving the root cause of this problem. And this is out of control immigration combined with mismanagement from a state government with completely inadequate infrastructure, Madam Mayor. I fully endorse your mayoral minute, and hopefully that both state and federal governments can get serious about these problems facing our shire today and into the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Uno. Any further speakers? Councillor Bonham.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and I stand to endorse your mayoral minute. I think Councillor Blue was a bit lavish in his description of the announcement being great. I don't think it's great. I think it's good. 500 metres is not great. I think what would be great is the announcement that they're going to fully upgrade Windsor Road from Windsor to North Parramatta, as you've requested some investigations to be made into in your mayoral minute. I'm going to repeat again in this chamber, longer and more stressful daily commutes are consistently linked to poorer mental health, including increased stress, fatigue, anxiety and depressive symptoms. So we are inflicting, well, the governments are inflicting this on our residents. 22 kilometres an hour, speed kills. This is a disgrace. This is Sydney. So I think, we'll all agree governments are elected to solve problems, not create them. And this state government is creating huge problems by not, by imposing these really dense population areas without the commensurate infrastructure. So I commend your mayoral minute and I hope we get a positive response. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bonham. Any further speakers? Councillor Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a bit of a chuckle when Councillor Uno was talking about the sod turns, and I'm sure there's been enough sod turns so far that they probably could have just dug up the 500 metres and resolved the issue already. I've stood up and spoken multiple times about infrastructure, and generally I quote Premier Chris Minns of when he was in opposition and recently when he was in Norwest and delivering schools about the importance of delivering infrastructure early, and delivering infrastructure, otherwise you can't deliver homes. The unfortunate thing at the moment is homes are continuously being delivered without the infrastructure to support them. And as you've already outlined in your mayoral minute, it's getting more difficult to be able to get to the house, let alone leave the house. Thank goodness we're working from home, otherwise we'd be in absolute chaos with people being on the roads every day. Without them, kind of measuring the particular days and their additional responsibilities, to then have to battle the traffic without it being productive for them. I know there's been many discussions in plenty of Sydney plans about the 5-minute city, 20-minute city, half-an-hour city, working, in the same places that you live. And all of that is well and good, but if we don't have the infrastructure to support it, the reality is we're putting people on the bulk transport infrastructures like the metro and the buses in order to shuffle them out to other areas of the city. I've brought up a lot to my colleagues. I used to catch the metro a lot in going to work, and have found that it's pretty much full now by the time it leaves the hills. In order to be able to get into the city, I think the metro was very forward-thinking. It was a significant investment into the hills, and I know it has some capacity in being able to increase the frequency of the metro trains and potentially expansions of ones that arrive, but we're quickly getting to the point where even that is unable to handle the load and manage the flow of people around the area. I think it's also really telling as well that even outside of what we would generally class as peak hour, being a Monday to Friday, what we're seeing on Windsor Road now, Old Windsor Roads, is weekend traffic where you're sitting in there just as long as what you are in peak hour on another day. And to me, that's a really clear indicator that there's already a problem. I am grateful for the announcement around the hospital. I hope it is delivered sooner rather than later in order to be able to meet the demand. But I do feel also at the same time that what is being delivered at the moment is purely to be able to support that piece of infrastructure which should have happened anyway, rather than necessarily addressing the issues that we already have and are continuously going to get worse. My understanding is that the consideration around the change of Rouse Hill Hospital from being on one side of the road to the other side of the road was purely around the T-way and emergency services being able to get to the hospital rather than necessarily having to sit in the traffic, because I can only presume one smart planner realised that the expansion isn't going to do what it needs to do to be able to support emergency services. Madam Mayor, as a final question as part of my comments, I've moved a point in a motion previously, I think it was in February, and also raised it again last week about the communication that was sent to the federal member for Greenway about meeting with council to discuss the 207 million and increasing shortfall that we have in Box Hill. I was advised in the last meeting that there was a meeting booked, and I'm just wondering how that meeting went to talk
Friday.
about Box Hill.
It's on Friday.
Oh, it didn't happen?
No, we got the date wrong. It's Friday.
Right.
So I'll tell you next meeting.
Okay. I'm really hoping that the new member that came out at the last election and was making a lot of promises to the people in Box Hill and Gables to vote for her and get the support of her and her party is actually able to deliver for the people that she made promises to. And I think that if we're spending this ridiculous amount of money on what it was, $800,000 per metre or something like that, and it being $400 million, that we could consider the $207 million that will go an extremely long way to supporting the people in Box Hill and Gables for what they deserve and what they should expect in having infrastructure to match their housing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Any further speakers? Councillor Gretseva.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to congratulate you with the minutes. I am in support of the minutes and our continuing advocacy for our people. Yeah, Windsor Road, it's known problem, and definitely we should advocate for our community, and what is local government proposing, it's a first step for ensuring infrastructure delivery for our community. I would like to remind that election promise Albanese government was 20 million for Windsor Rota Brigade, where Liberal promises was just 15 million. So if we calculate how much meters we can build for 15 meters, I'm not sure where is the lower or bigger impact will be. And I would like to correct the motion number 5, which says, point number 5, which says, Mayor to write to local and state MPs. I believe we meant to write local, state, and federal MPs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for picking that up. Thank you. Much appreciated. Councillor Jackson, you've spoken, but...
No, it's just a quick question, Madam
Yes.
Mayor. I couldn't help it, have to ask. It was an election promise. I'm just wondering if it was for the 50th time that we were told we would get the money.
Maybe.
Just worried about promises being delivered, that's all.
Any further speakers on this item? No further speakers. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, it's carried. Councillors, any petitions this evening? No petitions, thank you. We go to notice of rescission. Item 2, rescission of 2025 Code of Meeting Practice. Councillor Uno.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the motion as stated in the business paper.
Thank you. You wish to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ever so briefly, as we do have a long agenda tonight. Unfortunately, this has been thrust upon us by the incompetence of the state government, Madam Mayor. The state government, state Labor government, in their negotiations with the Legislative Council, and I believe it was the Greens Party, Madam Mayor, moved forward with the new Code of Meeting Practice before quite outstandingly, Madam Mayor, and surprisingly, the fact that it was all of a sudden rescinded within the New South Wales Government Parliament, Madam Mayor. And that's put us into a rather awkward position where now that we've been basically caught short, we've been suddenly getting used to a way of things happening, Madam Mayor, and now we have to basically revert to our previous Code of Meeting Practice. This is just another example of incompetence by the state government, Madam Mayor. The fact that they can't even get a council Code of Meeting Practice correct, and has unfortunately left us and every council in the state, Madam Mayor, scrambling with such a motion as what we have before us this evening. I hear that they are looking at putting forward a new Code of Meeting Practice, which hopefully will be delivered to us in the coming weeks, if not months, Madam Mayor, and hopefully we can put all of this behind us. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Grazeva.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just would like to put an amendment to the motion. The amendment will be to add the second point to the motion. The General Manager be authorized to make minor amendments to the Council adopted Code of Meeting Practice for clarity adopted September 2025 code that is based on 2021 prescribed Code of Meeting Practice to permit the conducted live streaming of our ordinary meetings.
Thank you. So I'll go to the original. Yes, you want to second that? Thank you, Councillor Casby. You don't want to include that in your motion? Okay. Councillor Grazeva, you wish to speak?
Yep. I would like to move this amendment and would like to seek councillors' support to the amendment because I believe half a year we had live streaming and we've been successful in it. Live streaming has become normalized during this year and has given greater access for members of public to view council decision makings. The 2021 prescribed model code of meeting practice would permit it, and council's adopted code of meeting practice with the minor amendments actually allowing it. So I move this amendment because I believe maintaining a video live streaming of council meetings is in the best interest of the community. While we discussing about changes of model of conduct of meeting practice, I do not believe the council should reduce transparency, and we currently we have. The fact that some live streaming no longer mandatory does not mean it's no longer beneficial. So visual live streaming has become an important way for residents to be engaged with the local government. Many people cannot attend meetings in person due to work commitments, family responsibility, mobility limitations, and other circumstances. Live streaming allow them to see and hear council's decision, understand how decisions are made, and stay informed about issues affecting them. As I mentioned, we already invested in the necessary systems, and our community has become accustomed to assessing meeting in this way. Stepping backward from the video live streaming would reduce accessibility and transparency without providing any obvious benefit to our residents. So I believe continued video live streaming reflects the expectation of our residents and support good governance. And as I said, I asking support in this amendment. I believe we will also get support from the community, and this is what the community want to be our meetings to be accessible and decision making to be more transparent for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gretseva. Councillor Casby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd like to support Councillor Gretseva's amendment. We had been operating under one of the least accessible and inclusive codes of meeting practice in the Sydney metropolitan area up until earlier this year when the new model code came into force. So thank you, Minister Honig, bringing with it a mandate for audio-visual live streaming, making council meetings inclusive and more accessible for our residents. Now, the 2025 model code wasn't perfect. We've seen some serious but unintended consequences, especially with the rules around councillors being able to attend or unable to attend remotely via audio-visual link. I do know of a number of councillors in rural and regional areas who were forced to resign due to individual circumstances that prevented them from attending every meeting in person. So caring responsibilities, huge distances that needed to be travelled, work commitments. It's really important that we have the diversity of representation in local government that our communities need. And these inflexible rules around remote attendance negatively impacted the very inclusion and accessibility that good representation relies on. And to add to what Councillor Uno said, yes, it was the Greens MLC that put forward the disallowance motion on this because it was unfair. She did give 6 months to the Labor government to come round and work it out. Unfortunately, they didn't do that in time, so the Greens and Liberals pushed this disallowance to motion. So the unfortunate consequence for our residents in the Hillshire is that rescinding the model code of meeting practice reverts us back to the dark ages, the previous code, which chose to record our meetings in audio only and 3 days later make them available on the website. Now, our residents expect and deserve to be able to watch and hear their councillors in action. Meetings should be live streamed or at least video recorded. This chamber already has the technology installed. We've been using it. Our residents appreciate it and they paid for it. Let's not waste this resource again and leave it lying idle and unused. Our residents deserve a service they've already paid for, a service that the vast majority of New South Wales councils have been offering for years. For those interested in council business or in a particular item on the agenda, they are welcome to come along to listen. We love having you in the gallery. I'm not sure if you love being in the gallery. It's a long night, and if you're coming from way up north, it's a 100-kilometre round trip from Wiseman's Ferry, and it's a decent drive even from Glenorrhy, which some of you may be here tonight. It's hard to attend if you don't have transport, you live with a disability, you've got a young family or work commitments, and residents have consistently said that council meetings are difficult to follow when they can't see who it is that's speaking. Providing our community with a 3-day-old audio recording is embarrassing. And in the era of a demand streaming technology and AI, reverting back to audio is so outdated. We do have an obligation to be as accessible and inclusive as possible. How can a 3-day-old audio recording possibly be the best we can do? Continuing to oppose providing an audio-visual and live stream service, especially when it has been such a bonus for our community this year, to now take it away again does little to demonstrate openness and transparency and disregards those who might need it. I'm not sure what councillors are fearful of. We've been providing this AV live stream all year and the sky has not fallen in, nothing terrible has happened. It provides a great service to our community. I can only think that if we choose not to live stream, despite having all of the ability to do so, then we'll be seen as putting our own fears, our own interests ahead of the accessibility and transparency to local democracy that our community deserves. I called the Office of Local Government yesterday. There is no extra cost. There is no administrative burden involved in continuing to live stream. We don't have to change the wording of the code. We can simply decide to go above and beyond the audio recording of last code and vote today to continue doing so. Or, as the amendment says, allow the General Manager delegation to make minor amendments to allow broadcasting to continue to occur. So let's put our community first, utilise the technology we already own, and vote to keep the live stream going.
Thank you, Councillor Casby. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to support the unamended motion. I do want to focus in on one particular problem. Councillor Casby referenced that people want to see us in action, and that's the problem right there. I strongly suspect, I can't prove, but the theatrics we saw at the last meeting may not have happened if they weren't being live streamed. I'd also like to note that I've argued against this on the exact grounds that people end up performing for the camera. This is a common complaint of the televised committees in the US House as well, that since it's become televised, people are performing for clips, they're not actually doing the work. And I recall after we actually changed to live streaming and had our first live stream meeting, a councillor, one of the non-Liberal councillors to be specific, but I won't go more than that, came up to me after the meeting and said, I really get it now. That meeting was twice as long as it needed to be because people were performing for the camera. I'm not sure if they've fully changed their view, but they do at least understand the argument. Anyway, I was happy to welcome the Liberal Green effort to get these rolled back. I think it's up to us to decide what we want to do. I don't think it's an accessibility issue. The meetings end up, like last meeting's theatrics, they were already clipped, cut up, slightly distorted the nature of it and shared all over social media. However, the thing I saw, the video was irrelevant. It was overlaid with pictures of the stills of the councillor speaking because the video is not actually a relevant component. You can hardly see anyone or what they're doing. I mean, if we really need live streaming, maybe the audio, because what matters in this room is what we say. It's not any physical action we take. It's not anything. There's no way to have cameras that show any facial expressions and they shouldn't be taken into account. It's the words we say and the voting we do that counts. So the only thing that matters is the audio. And if that's not accessible to someone, the video's not helping. They have to wait till the transcript's available or something like that. So I don't think it's an issue of accessibility. I think it's an issue of the impact it has on councillors' behaviour. And so I'm very happy that the change has been rolled back. I think a lot of the new code was rather dictatorial, one size fits all things pushed through by the minister, and just trying to standardise everything across all the councils. But what they do in the different councils is irrelevant. This is our council for our people, and I'm happy to be, at least for some time, have the powers to make our own decisions on some aspects of the code.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Hazelden.
The form is really quite simple. We've heard the reasons why this is being rescinded. This simply restores the status quo for an indefinite but probably and likely a very, very short period of time. I think we are overcomplicating this matter, Madam Mayor. Look, just by way of perspective on this, got here some numbers from February when this commenced through to 26th of May of the concurrent viewers while streaming live. So from the 10th of February, 13, 25, 20, 19, 10, 9, 11 and 14, and a number more than that would view the video post the event. Madam Mayor, in a community of 20,000 people, this is hardly a significant number of people that this is impacting. It's not as though there are protests in Main Street about transparency of council and the need to see Councillor Hazel and Councillor Una and their ilk performing in the council chambers, because as been noted, the video image is actually quite tiny. I certainly don't put makeup on to be more amenable to the video streaming, Madam Mayor. So I think, return to what I said earlier on, this is a simple resolution which simply restores the status quo based on the state government's inability to get this code of practice through. Let's leave it, let's revert to what we were doing before, and let's wait this relatively short period of time to when the new code of meeting practice comes out, which will probably, likely, but I'm not sure that we'll have live audio-visual streaming. Madam Mayor, the last comment I'd make is in relation to Councillor Casby's comments about remote looking. Look, we're not Central Darling council area. All of us in this chamber live relatively close to where the council headquarters are. It would significantly diminish the effectiveness of council if we said you could zoom into this meeting instead of attending here on a regular basis as we do. So I just don't see that as at all as an attractive proposition. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support the motion in its original form.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelden. Any further speakers? No further speakers. Councillor Una, you're right to reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, I think for something that should have been a rather rudimentary administrative item has taken the best part of half an hour, Madam Mayor, of the council's time. Madam Mayor, this is what this amendment is trying to push, Madam Mayor, is a continuation of the theatrics that we saw last meeting from Councillors Casby and Cartwright, Madam Mayor, of what was then misleadingly chopped up and edited, Madam Mayor, and put onto a local activist website that didn't portray the meeting in its that aspect of the meeting, the item of the meeting, in its full tenure, Madam Mayor, and in my personal view, made the mayor look poor, Madam Mayor. That because your words were chopped and changed, Madam Mayor, and which I think is very poor. And that I think, Madam Mayor, from a live streaming perspective, I had grave concerns from the start, Madam Mayor, from the point of view that where Minister Honig, the local government minister, wants to try to instill the standards of state parliaments onto councils across New South Wales, Madam Mayor, we are not afforded the same protections that the parliamentarians are, Madam Mayor. We do not have parliamentary privilege. What we state in this chamber can be used against us, now or if not later. And I think if the state government wants us to play by their standards and rules, give us, Madam Mayor, the same protections that they give themselves. I think that's only fair and just. And to Councillor Hazelden's points and touching on, we see this word used a lot, Madam Mayor, community. Community wants this, community wants that. We heard it from Councillor Gretseva and Councillor Casby. The community is calling for this. I can't say that of our last meeting, Madam Mayor, 14 viewers of 200,000 residents can be counted as community. 11 viewers the meeting before that, and a paltry 9, Madam Mayor, in our meeting, our last meeting in April. Madam Mayor, we've got more than enough seats in this chamber to accommodate the individuals that do choose to watch, or if they are so keen, they can listen to the meetings like a podcast, Madam Mayor, the week after. Madam Mayor, thank you for this motion tonight, and I think we can just move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Uno. So we've got a motion before us, and we also got an amendment. So the amendment moved by Councillor Gretseva and seconded by Councillor Casby. The recommendation report be accepted with the additional point number 2 that's on the screen. That's the amendment, and then we have the motion, which is the recommendation in the business paper be adopted. We will start with the amendment first. All those in favour of the amendment say aye. Aye. Against? The amendment is lost. 2 standing for a division. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. Councillor, if you can vote on your keypads, please. We're voting on the amendment.
All votes are in.
That amendment is lost, but for the tape recording and proceedings of tonight's meeting, I'll read out the names of those who voted for the amendment and those who voted against the amendment. Voting for the amendment is Councillor Blue, Councillor Casby, Councillor Gretseva, Councillor Jackson, and myself, Mayor Dr. Byrne. Voting against the amendment is Councillor Bonham, Councillor Cox, Councillor Damasi, Councillor Hazelden, Councillor Jetty, and Councillor Uno. That amendment is lost. We now go back to the motion. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Against? It's carried. Thank you, councillors. Following the rescission of its resolutions adopting the Code of Meeting Practice aligned with the 2025 Model Code, Council will now conduct the remainder of this meeting and all future meetings in accordance with its code based on the 2021 Model Code of Meeting Practice. The code was adopted by Council on the 23rd of September 2025. As a result, the live streaming of this meeting will now cease. Clause 5.34 of the code adopted on the 23rd of September